now, from the San Francisco Bay Area studios, KLOK proudly presents to you the prominent attorney Shaw Pirelli for the Shaw Pirelli Law Show, coming at you with over 50,000 watts of power. The Shaw Pirelli Law Show, where all your views matter.
रेडियो जिंदगी 1170 AM पे वेलकम लिसनर्स, मैं हूं आपके साथ ईरा। शो लेके आए हैं द शाह पिराली लॉ शो, where we are once again joined by attorney Shah Pirali, who is the founder, president and managing attorney of the Shah Pirali Law Group. The law group is based in Newark, California. Attorney Shah Pirali is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association as well as the State Bar of California. He is a passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social action and social services. And he has a strong interest in and knowledge of the political legal system in the U.S. He formed his law group to focus on the causes that he feels most ardent about. The law group focuses on immigration law with an emphasis on employment-based immigration, and he helps clients all over the U.S. It is headquartered in Newark, but then offices are also in Newark, San Francisco and Washington DC. तो कहीं भी आप हैं ईस्ट कोस्ट पे या वेस्ट कोस्ट पे, आप जरूर उनसे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं. आपको न्यूयॉर्क का ऑफिस, सैन फ्रांसिस्को का ऑफिस या वॉशिंगटन डीसी का ऑफिस हेल्प कर सकेगा. आप फोन कीजिए उन्हें on 510-742-5887. That's the office number for Shah Pirali Law Group. 510-742-5887. इस नंबर पे फोन करके आप अपॉइंटमेंट बुक कर सकते हैं, रिजर्व कर सकते हैं एक कंसल्टेशन के लिए, and you will get all the information and more on the website piralilaw.com. कौन-कौन से एरियाज में आपकी मदद कर सकते हैं शाह पिराली, Attorney Shah Pirali and his team. The website is piralilaw.com. PEERALLYLAW.com. Listeners, if you have any questions about your case or about any doubts, you can still call us during the show. While the show is on, you can call up on the studio number and speak to Attorney Shah Pirali. Studio का नंबर है 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. Attorney Shah, welcome to the show. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Ara. Good morning to all the listeners. Of course, it's a great day today. Inauguration day. 1 hour ago, President Biden and Kamala Harris just sworn in as the president, 46th president of the United States, and nothing makes us more happy than anything that we've been waiting for. And you know, till the last minute I was still skeptical there will be something happening, and luckily I was wrong on that one. And of course we are going to see a lot of people, of course not a lot, but a few of them unhappy, but hopefully we'll be back on track. Now we have a president. Let's say we never had one for 4 years. We had just some kind of clown there, and now we have a real person, two real great people and a great cabinet. I saw the pic today. It's amazing. And I really wanted to congratulate them all. They're really kind of good in their field. That's what America is about. You take the best and you give them a platform, you take care of them, and then the rest happen by itself. And that's what has been the whole motto and whole system in America that made things work. But before I start, of course, anything I'm going to tell you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. So I don't know if you have any questions as we start, because we're going to talk, of course, a lot about politics, because a lot of things are going to change in the next 100 days. So and hopefully will be for the better. And of course we know this new rule on H-1B that is coming up, and again now we are not going to have a lottery system, etc. But I don't want to talk about it because this might also be reversed. So we have to wait and see in the next couple of weeks how things unfold, because Biden say he has three priorities. Now number one is the pandemic, of course, number two is climate change, and number three is immigration. amazing. Three major things that also I've always cared about, not always for the pandemic because it's new, but climate change, I've always been worried about this, and of course immigration. So we have to wait and see before we really kind of tell people, oh, this is going to happen or not, because he's planning to reverse a lot of things. But if you look at what Trump has done in the past, 24 hours is just horrible. I don't really want to talk about him after that, except when he gets impeached, gets on trial for the impeachment, or he goes to jail. But I think at this point, a lot of damage has been done to America. He pretty much declared war on America, and now we see the result, almost 405,000 people dead, and now we have a new variant of virus in the Bay Area. And you name it, everything possible that could happen, bad did happen, except probably alien invasion. We pretty much had everything. Well, of course, zombie attacks too. So, and we never know this might come, but hopefully not under Biden, because they're going to definitely put it on Biden. Having said that, now, I wanted to thank all the listeners and all the people who have been patient for 4 years. A lot of people have been really kind of reaching their term and telling me, you know what, I can't take it anymore, I have to leave, this has to happen, etc., etc. Well, we survived, right? So we will survive more. In fact, we are going to do better now, hopefully. So I recommend that now you get ready. There will be some good things coming, and I know not a lot of people are very happy that certain things that Biden said, but the truth is that he's a president. That's all I can say. We are not talking here about a clown, and we have few of them still left in the world, and we know where. And hopefully they will go down with Trump, and you know who I'm talking about here. And they I don't want to mention their names already because that's not really our issue, but they are really going to, hopefully now, the domino effect, you're going to see all those fascists getting burned, and luckily we'll have better people taking over. And now the big question everybody's asking, Biden said he's going to allow 8 million of people, not 8 million of people, but he's going to allow all the people who are unlawful in the United States ultimately get a green card and a path to citizenship, he calls it, and also it will happen over a period of 8 years, from what he said. We don't have the details yet. And that's going to really kind of make some people think, okay, what happens to us who are legal immigrants? I think there's a path also for people who are legal immigrants in that. But what he's talking about are mostly people who have been here undocumented or who have had hardship and have had paid taxes and really kind of been here for a long time. They will probably benefit from that, a bit like DACA. Now, of course, I think he has also some good stuff for employment base. It will be more fair, of course. H-1B will be a lot more feasible, and people filing for their green card will be easier. And I think also for people abused spouses and people who are on H-4, we are hoping, who are going through some kind of divorce or getting abused, will have some kind of channel to stay here without having to resort to the U visa. And so that's the hope that this is the next thing I'm probably going to start tackling to get a chance for people on H-4 who are going to some kind of separation and things like that to at least be able to stay, because this is really unfair on them. A lot of them getting stuck because their marriage didn't work out, or they're getting abused, but there are no police report, etc., and they get stuck. So these are things that we will have to deal with. But immediately, I think the pandemic is going to be his big thing. The second, he's also signing an executive order going back to the Paris Accord, and that is very important too, because what's the use of having money and having a green card if the planet is not even habitable? So all these are going to be his main focus, and he will have to do a lot of work. And the good thing is that Biden has hired young and really dynamic, diverse cabinet, and you have seen the list. And I was very, very happy to see it. Lots of people from India, from Middle East countries, from all over the world. It's really diverse. It represents really the real America, not what we have been seeing under Trump. So it is going to be people who think, and most of them are very qualified. We're not talking about nepotism like hiring his daughter or his son or his nephew or his niece. Whole bunch of losers who have access and destroyed the country. It's something very different that we're going to see now. And I'm hoping and praying that at least they will let us finish the work. And the good news is that now we have also the Senate. So the Senate plus we have a majority in the Senate, we have the Congress, plus now the executive. If we put all those three branches, I think Democrats needs to really, there's no excuse for Democrats to say they can't get things done now. Because just because we like them doesn't mean they're going to get away with things that we don't want to happen or we want to happen. So watch out, and that's the great thing about it. We are back to normal America. Well, not normal, of course. It won't be normal after the pandemic, but at least in America we have a right to express yourself, not being scared that you will be hurt, or you have a right to practice your religion. You have a right to basically be a normal human being. Just because of the color of your skin, you're not going to be targeted by the government. Although, of course, it will still be there. It has been there forever, but it won't be that much like it was under Trump. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is very important that you understand why I'm talking politics today, because, first of all, I'm very passionate about it. Not only passionate, I see it as a survival thing for us, not only for America, but for the entire world. And of course, immigration is closely tied to that. I've been saying this for years, but we've seen it in the past 4 years. Trump administration with Miller, who is like the Nazi of everybody, and I say it loudly because he is. And he pretty much passed laws which are very, very anti-immigration, and we saw that. And now we are going to see what happens next. We are going to see, like Sharif was saying, we're going to see a director of immigration who is himself from an immigrant family and who understands immigration better than anybody else. So we are really going to see people who deserve to be there, be on this platform. And that's going to change everything. And also, Kamala Harris is a very capable woman. Like I said, I've known her for a long time, and I know she's very capable. The only issue that we might have is the fact that she's a person of color. She might have to face more difficulties than most other people. So at the end of the day, we're going to see changes probably in the employment-based immigration, family-based immigration, and even asylum. As you know, asylum for a lot of people under the Trump administration, he made it harder. He made it harder to actually kind of get an asylum. And we know what's happening to the world. I hope you can hear me properly, right, Ira?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay.
So, any questions so far? I don't know.
We were getting a caller, but that call got dropped. But listener, if you are still there, if you would still like to ask a question about your immigration case, you can call us right away. 510-657-1170 is the studio number. If your call gets dropped, just call us back. 510-657-1170. बाकी लोग भी फोन कर सकते हैं. If you're listening and if you have a question that you'd like to ask Attorney Shapirali, call us right away. 510-657-1170. And if you'd like to reach Attorney Shapirali on his office number, you can call 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. His website is piralilaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. I'm sure a lot of people would be thinking and wondering, if not, they have a specific question, but they might definitely be thinking, now that all the, after everything is said and done, all the speeches and swearing in ceremony has been taken care of, now the real work begins, and now let's see what changes are made to the immigration laws, to the immigration rules, everything that former President Donald Trump did, what would be undone and what would be carried forward.
Indeed, yeah. What we're thinking is that this is what Biden has promised. He said, as from tomorrow,
Yes.
or I don't know if it is today itself, he's going to remove the Muslim ban. He's going to, what they call the Muslim ban is those few countries that were banned to enter the United States. He's going to make things a lot easier to get in. But of course now we have this issue with the pandemic, but we'll have to wait and see how he deals with that. But all those issues that we had with the H-1Bs might be removed, and also all those rules where they make things more complicated. And I wonder what will happen to the citizenship, because the Trump administration made it harder for many people to pass the citizenship test. And for most people, unless people are very educated, etc., they might not pass it. And plus, if you look at the paperwork itself that is submitted, there are so many mistakes from the Trump administration themselves. They don't even know history, which I will not be surprised, because most of the people working there are not very qualified. Well, used to work there. So that's another thing that we have to be worried, and we have to actually be watching for. So now, if you ask me the question, what can we expect from Biden?
Yes.
Well, we're going to expect, for one, that I told you, the Muslim ban removed. Asylum, as you know, was made very difficult. For one, he kind of removed one part where abused spouses, like in South America, when spouses are abused and they go seek help, they end up by getting gang raped sometimes, or getting beaten up. And I think the same thing is happening in Asia, in India also now. This is becoming kind of the new norm. And this was a ground for asylum, kind of. I'm not giving the exact facts here, but I'm just giving some of the tips of the situation it used to be. That doesn't mean if you're just getting attacked or being beaten by your husband or your wife, you get automatic asylum. No, it doesn't work this way. But there was some kind of relationship between those and people who are abused and political groups, etc. So they were able to get asylum based on that. But he removed that. So I'm hoping that will be reversed. Now, as you know, we are seeing the visa built in, and we don't know how things are going to unfold. Biden also promised he's going to make many of them current, and now that they have the two houses, I'm hoping that things will get better on that part. But having said that, I don't think it will be that obvious. Even though he's saying he's going to move it forward, I don't think it will be moving forward that much like many people are hoping for, because you cannot have high expectations. There are only so much he will be able to do. Ultimately, he might do it if he has a second term, but the first term things are not going to be. He will have to really tackle with the immediate problem. Another thing we know, there's a caravan moving towards the border, and that's one thing that has been there for a long time. It was not a caravan, but people will come illegally, which is, well, I don't want to use the word illegally, but people fleeing a lot of persecution. Many of those people who will walk in are coming from Guatemala, from Venezuela, from Uruguay, etc., and they're going towards through Mexico to enter the United States. And their countries are Colombia, etc. Their countries are war-torn countries, so they are really kind of suffering. So they walk usually, and many of them die or get beaten up, raped, kidnapped, body parts sold, etc., etc. And then they reach the border in Mexico and they enter United States. And then when they enter, they file asylum, or at the border they will seek an asylum, which is something that a lot of people do. You come at the border and you seek asylum at the port of entry. That means at the border. You don't cross illegally. You just say, hey, my life is in danger and I want an asylum. What will happen next? Usually you get, it's a mandatory what we call detention. That means you go into custody, and from the custody you get interviewed for a credible, fair interview. That means they check if you have really the fear of going back to your home country. First step. If you pass that first step, then you go in the second step of asylum. And of course, the Trump administration made this almost impossible, and we saw what happened with the children that were detained and were separated from their parents, etc. So this hopefully this will stop definitely detention of children being separated. Now the question, will they be able to find the children that were lost? And I heard that the Trump administration, they hid a lot of information. They didn't want to really help unite those kids. And how cruel this is, right? So that's why I see, and then I hear people saying, and we had one caller last week, I think the week before that, who say, oh, what do you expect Trump to do? We don't expect Trump to do anything. We signed a charter of Convention Against Torture, which means we are supposed to protect people who are seeking asylum. And this has been the case for America, and this is what America is about. It's been like that since it was built. The pilgrims who came as asylees. They are refugees. They came because they were fearing persecution. And that's what has built, if you look at Easter Island in New York, you will see the list. All of them came because they were Protestant or they were Catholics or etc. and they were getting persecuted in their home country, which was usually England, etc., etc. And that's how they moved to the U.S. And this has been there forever. And even Trump's grandfather, I think grand-grandfather, came like that. And now the idiot is just saying, has been making things like hard. I'm sorry, I'm using that word, but I think I'm using a nice word for him. He has been trying to make people think that some people are born here, and what bothers me is that when I see immigrants, especially in our communities, basically supporting that and believing that they too are entitled. You're not entitled to anything. The land doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to the natives maybe. But if you have a chance to come here and you're not harming anybody, why make you lose that chance? Just because you don't like my faith, you don't like my religion, you don't like my way of thinking? That's not America. America has always been a welcoming land, and I've been here now for 25 years or whatever, more than that probably, and it's always been welcoming. We had problems, we have issues with foreign policies, and that I agree, and that needs to be changed, but we have a lot of other issues too, but we don't have the issue of not being welcoming. The land has always been a welcoming land, and you heard the song today of Jennifer Lopez, it's my land and your land, right? So it is the land of everybody. America is a land of opportunity, like we said, the land of the free and home of the brave, right? So I hope it will come back to that. And again, this is basically my opinion, and I think what will happen next, we're going to see a more aggressive, positive, aggressive immigration policy, which means luckily for many of our clients and people, they will get a chance to stay in America. And for that, I'm very hopeful. But now the question, how will it be? I don't have the details. The plan itself is basically to give a chance to what we call immigrants who are unlawful here, but at the same time, the plan is to make current many of those EB categories. So having said that, EB categories, even they make it won't be current completely. We're going to see a drop maybe to 2015, but still, if you get a chance to move to EB1, take that chance, and don't just jump on EB3 because you saw EB3 moving, because soon it will also be saturated. So bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, personally I think we're going to be better off, except as long as we can master this pandemic, we should be okay. Not 100%, we're not going to be back like the America we knew 10 years ago, 15 years ago. This is gone. It's not only America. I don't think India is the same anymore. I don't think France is the same anymore. I don't think UK is the same. And worse, they still have their own Trump there in UK. And but at the end of the day, we're going to see some great changes coming. And hopefully with Biden having a good team of people, capable people, real capable people who are really expert in their field, we're going to see America move for the better and getting stronger and doing the best and help the world also survive. Because what has happened under Trump, which really bothers me, is he has let go of all those America has always been, unfortunately sometimes in a bad way, but we have always been the watchdog of the planet, right? We watch over things, we make sure this doesn't happen here, this doesn't happen there. Sometimes by mistake we end up by doing it, etc. But at the end of the day, Trump has pretty much let go of everything. He has let a lot of countries start mistreating their people, abusing their people. Unless he got into a fight with them, then he will highlight it. Otherwise, you're seeing people basically taking advantage of their own people, and that's the part which I don't think Biden will. If you look at Biden history, he has been a hawk, right? Sometimes in a wrong way, but sometimes in a good way. He has been really kind of advocating when things go bad, America should intervene, should at least try to talk to the government, and I'm hoping he will do that again, because too many of those fascist government have taken over, and I hope, God willing, inshallah, things are going to be better for all of us, and I'm pretty sure it will be, because we are going to see good things coming from immigration. That's why I don't really want to discuss about the details, but many of the basic rules that are working will still be the same. I-140 rules, H-1B is going to change. For new H-1B, but transfers, etc. will be the same. I'm hoping it will get easier, etc., etc. So I wanted to let people know I'm very happy. I don't feel like it because I was tired of been listening to.
You have been talking about this for so long. You've been so actively involved with these all discussions of the elections of 2020. When I was watching the inauguration speech this morning, imagine the first thought that came to my mind was, today is a good day to have Attorney Shah Pirali's show, because when I don't know, is this a coincidence? Is this a sign or something? But great. Thank you for explaining it so well. Thank you for sharing your insight with us. Listeners, once again, let me remind you that if you have any questions, you can also call in onto the studio number and speak to Attorney Shah Pirali. Office का studio का number है 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. And Attorney Shah Pirali's office number is 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. कोई भी सवाल आपको होता है इमिग्रेशन को लेके, आप फोन कर सकते हैं and speak to Attorney Shah. He would definitely be able to answer your questions. लेकिन अगर आप डायरेक्टली कुछ उनसे कंसल्टेशन करना चाहते हैं, कुछ प्राइवेट में अपना केस डिस्कस करना चाहते हैं, तो अपॉइंटमेंट ले सकते हैं. Get more information on the website piralilaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. We all wonder, we all are curious as to what will now happen, what are the steps that are going to be taken. And Attorney Shah, like he said, and इमिग्रेशन को लेकर, asylum को लेकर, या फिर EB1 की, EB3, EB2, all these categories, they would उन पे क्या असर पड़ेगा? What are the priority dates going to be like? Will it be moving forward? And all of us have those questions, but if you have any questions specifically, get in touch with him. Generic scenario, of course, we will keep discussing. In some time, we might also have Attorney Sharif joining us. Then Attorney Shah and Attorney Sharif will be discussing this in even greater detail. So Attorney Shah, is he joining us?
Yes, I'm hoping he will join us.
Okay.
I think he went to the inauguration. It
is possible.
No, I don't know. But he's closed there. The office is closed. So, but I don't think people are getting access that easily.
You also mentioned when you were talking about the EB categories, priority dates changing and stuff. You also mentioned about spouses not really abused, but spouses, dependents having more chances, having more ways to be able to stay over here without really, if you have been abused, it's a completely different thing. You have U visa, and then there might be ways to ease the process. What about people? What about dependents who are over here? May not be, let's assume they're not abused, but they want to stay here not really as dependents, but they have had some, maybe there's a separation happening, maybe there's some kind of difficult time that they're going through. So what do you think is going to happen over there?
This is a good question. This is an interesting part that I've been kind of realizing for the past few years, and unfortunately with the Trump administration, we cannot really push it, but now we're hoping with Biden it will work. So for one, you have two kinds of abuses or no abuse. There's no abuse, separation. Then you have pure abuses, like really where if someone get hit or full domestic violence. Those can benefit from the U visa if you're an H4 category. But there are also those who are just getting divorced because they have mental abuses. Mental abuses can be sexual or mental, or abuses that you cannot really prove because this happen behind closed doors and you don't hear. So these are the people and the no abuses cases that we want to tackle with. What happened to those people? What happened to those people? Can they get a chance? That's why we're going to work towards changing the law. Sharif is there?
Yes.
I'm here. Good morning, Charles. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning from DC. Tell us how's it going there?
Oh, it's going great. It's, I think, a town that is breathing a sigh of relief. And, I think people are feeling pretty good that we got through this. So I think, it's a little cold, it's chilly, but a lot of hope in the air.
Good. So a lot of hope. That's exactly what I see, and I've been thinking the last minute he's going to, because I don't know if you saw some of the reports, a lot of the people, Trump supporters, they were expecting him to declare martial law the last minute and hand the power to the military. I don't know where they got the idea, but it was circulating. Everybody was saying.
Yeah, I think what really happened was probably about a week and a half ago. All of the military leadership, basically made a pledge that they're going to support the Constitution and make sure that the 46th president is inaugurated and security and all that kind of thing. So, the military turned on Trump really quickly, and even the Republicans are turning on Trump now. That's American politics. You get used, and then you get abused. So he will be.
At the end of the day, it's not only American politics; it's very much politics all over the world. But the truth is that I think in his case, they were scared of him too. He has been either blackmailing them or basically threatening them, and his supporters are not really, friendly people. So all this stuff has contributed to a lot of Republicans getting scared. So tell us a little bit, Sharif. Let's dig directly into it now. Let's talk more about immigration than politics. I know I've been talking about politics for the first half an hour.
Immigration is politics.
What's going on? Yeah, we can't get out of it because unfortunately we are kind of attached to that politics. There's no way out of it. But at the end of the day, I think for EB1, EB2 categories, it will be the same. Not the same, but we will have opportunities, but the timing and the visibility will probably be the same. So tell us a little bit about EB1, because now a lot of people are contacting us for EB1, but some of them are very much into the idea that if they don't have publications, they don't meet those 10 requirements, et cetera, they won't get an EB1. Tell us a little bit. Who gets an EB1?
Yeah, I think obviously that's a big misconception, because folks who want to apply in the first category, EB1A, need to understand one thing very, very clearly. That is, it is a visa category for individuals who have extraordinary ability in their field of endeavor. That is the key language there, in their field of endeavor, because so much misconception there exists that you need to have publications, but if you are not in the business of writing scholarly articles or authoring scholarly articles or publishing, then that category doesn't really apply, or it's not determinative of whether or not you have extraordinary ability in your field. So one who is a researcher or a professor, for example, they are paid to publish work, right? That they wake up in the morning every day, they go to their lab or their office, and they try their darndest to publish scholarly work and have it, or author scholarly work and have it published for a learned audience that can cite their work, and they feel really good when they cite their work, okay? You and I and 99% of people out there, they don't wake up in the morning and think, oh, let me go write a scholarly article because that's what I'm paid to do. So whether or not you have published scholarly articles is only relevant if that is your profession or if it is somehow related to your area of interest or field of endeavor. So for many other folks, if you are a product creator, the way that we are going to measure whether you have extraordinary ability in your field will be the merits of the products that you've created and how they have, influenced your field, how they have been utilized or benefited other people in your field. So ultimately, what we are looking at when we're looking at an EB1A candidate is whether or not that individual has reached the high level of achievement within the area of work that they are involved in. So that is what the misconception is. And, having a scholarly article or authorship of an article is fine. But if you look at the 10 criteria that talk about sustained acclaim, there's also a criteria that is about, having box office sales for performing arts. So why is it that nobody ever tells me, oh, if I don't have box office sales for performing arts, then I cannot get an EB1A? But they always tell me that if I don't have authorship of scholarly article, I can't get an EB1A. It makes no sense. You see, authorship of scholarly article applies to people who are authoring scholarly articles. Likewise, having sales at the box office for a performance applies to individuals who are in the performing arts. People who are not in the performing arts, people who are not in, writing scholarly articles, those criteria don't necessarily apply to you. So what you need to look at is, if you are a product creator, designer, we're using that as an example, have you made a product that is original, that has significance? So now what we need to understand is what is original and what is significant. So originality means essentially that you are responsible for it. You can prove that this product is my product. I am responsible for it, or I and my team are responsible for its genesis, for its beginning. It did not exist before I initiated the process of designing it or creating it or whatever. So that's number one, is originality. Number two becomes significance. How do you prove significance? So significance is measured two ways. Number one, by widespread discussion. So you created the product. Now the question is there any widespread discussion about this product? Well, what you need to do is you need to compartmentalize. You need to separate originality from significance. If you've already established originality, like I have proof that I created this product. Let's say we're talking about Apple AirPods. Okay, I have a letter, and this is a silly example. I know it's never going to happen, but I have a letter from Tim Cook who says, Sharif Silmi have been, designed the noise cancellation feature of the Apple AirPod. Okay, so there you go. That's my proof of originality. Now, the proof of significance will not does not necessarily need to talk about Sharif being the designer of the noise cancellation feature in the Apple AirPod, because I've already established originality through my letter from Tim Cook. Therefore, anything that talks about how important, how novel the noise cancellation feature in the Apple AirPod whether it's in Wired magazine, whether it's in a newspaper, whether it's in a blog, whether it's in, the Washington Post, or whether it's in any kind of widespread distributed, publication, right? That will satisfy the significance. Widespread discussion. The other way you can satisfy significance is impact on subsequent work in the field of endeavor. So my noise cancellation feature in the Apple AirPod resulted in the AirPod being the most, highly sought after, whatever it's called, hands-free device in the industry. Okay. Or it has been, the noise cancellation feature that I created for the Apple AirPod has also been put into the iPhone 11 or 12 or whatever number they're on. Or it has been licensed by another company. So this is what's called impact on subsequent work in the field. These are the two ways that we show the significance of your work, and original contribution of major significance is, in my view, the most important criteria when it comes to an EB1A. And then you can also look at, for example, have I performed in a critical role? And guess what? If your contribution, why do I say original contribution and major significance is the most important criteria in an EB1A case? Because if you're able to successfully establish that you made an original contribution of major significance to your field of endeavor while being in the course of employment, you will definitely satisfy the requirement of critical role for an organization, so long as you can show the organization has a distinguished reputation. Because what is the requirement for a critical role for an organization that has a distinguished reputation? It is that the outcome, that the work that you've done on behalf of the organization is significant to the outcome of the organization's activities. That means that you have been successful in presenting a work that is significant to the field as a whole. Therefore, it must be significant to the outcome of the organization that you're working for. And guess what? The same evidence that you are using to prove the originality of your work, the letter from Tim Cook, and to prove the significance of your work, the media articles, the widespread discussion, and the impact on subsequent work, can satisfy both the original contribution and major significance criteria and the critical role for an organization. The same evidence can satisfy both criteria, and that is specifically stated in the regulations. It provides that evidence that is relevant to one criteria may be relevant to another criteria. So that is a really, really important thing to do. And obviously, in addition to that, what you want to look at is salary, because that's an objective measure of one's ability. So that scenario that I just presented, who gives a damn if the person published or authored an article? He designed and provided the noise cancellation feature for the AirPod. That is, in my view, 1,000 times more extraordinary and relevant than writing an article that 10 or 15 people might read. So that's my view of the matter, and I think the facts and history have shown that we're right about this. The success is there, and that's ultimately what it takes. So anybody that says you need authorship of scholarly article to file an EB1A is mistaken, I'm sorry to say.
Yes, exactly. So we are in conversation with Attorney Sharif Silmi, who handles our Washington, D.C. office. His main focus is EB1, O1 visas, National Interest Waiver, and E2 visas, and L1A and L1B. So feel free to reach out to us, 510-742-5887. Sharif, there's something I wanted to ask you. They have changed the H1B, the H1B rules of lottery, etc., but at the same time they have kind of said they're going to give priorities to only high salary. Now, since we don't know how this thing is going to unfold, is going to be reversed by Biden, etc., we need to talk about an alternative to H-1B, and this is something we talked about a few weeks ago, but I wanted to get into a little bit more since we have another 10 minutes, right, Ara? 10 minutes or so?
Yes, about 12.
About the okay, 12 minutes, perfect. So I wanted to talk about the details of the O visa, because that's an alternative to the H-1B. One of the things with the O visa which is interesting, there's no limitation of the time. Like you have an H-1B for 6 years, you have to have an I-140 approved, etc., to extend further than that. But I think also with the O1 visa, you have the other opportunity is basically to the salary that is required usually under the H-1B is not present. Tell us a little bit about O1. Can you just tell me a little bit about those two issues?
Yes, I can. And I think also, one thing people need to understand is if you are, for example, running out of time on your H-1B and you don't have an I-140 and you cannot extend your H-1B, or if you are on an OPT after having completed maybe your master's or PhD, and you are worried that you're not going to be able to qualify for the H-1B with a lot of the rule changes that have taken place, you absolutely can take advantage of the O1A. So the O1A is a non-immigrant visa for individuals who have extraordinary ability. It has very similar requirements to the EB-1A. However, the level of scrutiny that is administered in the review and adjudication of the O1A is less. So it is easier to satisfy, and it is a great first step to an EB-1A if one is headed in that direction. The O1A does require an employer sponsor, so that needs to be very clear that you need the employer to initiate that process. There needs to be like an objective letter of expertise, so that's kind of like what I call a credibility letter. A letter from someone who is credible and objective and can basically vouch for your skill set. Then you just go through the satisfaction of 3 of the 10 criteria. Do you have, are you performing in a critical role, or will you perform in a critical role for an organization that has a distinguished reputation? Do you have original contributions of major significance to your field? Have you authored any articles? My favorite category, I'm just joking. Do you command a high salary? And, think about command a high salary in this context. It doesn't say, do I earn a high salary? It says, do I command a high salary? So one thing that we've done is not only have we used, maybe a W-2 to prove that one has already earned a high salary, but we can use an offer letter that, is there to show that you command a high salary. So that is one thing that we can do in terms of salary. Not everything is black and white. There's a lot of gray area. Have you reviewed and judged the work of others? And this review and judge the work of others does not only have to be a situation where you have reviewed and judged, a peer review article. You can review and judge other work so long as it is outside of the normal course of your employment. For example, you may be requested to, in the product creation example, right? Maybe somebody at a different company, Jabra or Samsung or something, looked at you as the creator of the noise cancellation feature in the AirPod and said, hey, can you review our product and give us your opinion, right? So you have then been asked, based on your expertise, to review and judge the work of others. Are you a member of a professional organization that requires outstanding achievement of its members? Those are just some of the criteria, and hopefully, those could be satisfied. But ultimately, if you are in a situation where you are on an OPT and you're very, feeling vulnerable or insecure about the H-1B process, and you have an employer that's willing to sponsor your I-140, contact us. Let us help you and guide you through the O1A process, so that you don't have to necessarily lose that opportunity or wait on things that may not actually materialize. So O1A is definitely a good route to take where you don't have an H-1B. One of the limitations, obviously, is that you don't have the spousal work authorization that you would have with an H-1B and a approved I-140. But on the other hand, you can, have some flexibility there in terms of, extending it beyond 6 years if you don't have an existing I-140. So, there are benefits and there are, differences. So it's just, that's why it's important to reach out and consult with somebody who's, has knowledge regarding these issues so that you can be pointed in the right direction and you can trust that, we're capable and able to do so and put your interests, first.
Exactly. That's a point that many people ignore when it comes to the O1. It can be very helpful because if you qualify for it, because having just a simple H-1B requires a lot of things to happen before that. And also, Sharif, another kind of visa that I know unfortunately doesn't apply to people from India unless they have a passport, a foreign passport, like, for example, let's say they are born in India, not India, but they are born in Pakistan or Egypt, etc. They have the ability to file for what we call an investor visa, the E2 visa. I know we handle a lot of them and you have handled them. I'm going to repeat the same thing because our listeners are different, but it is important for people to know that the E2 visa allows people to invest in the United States, get basically a visa to work with the spouse, but it doesn't lead you directly to a green card. That's a problem. So tell us a little bit about the E2, because we get a lot of people who are Indians but born in other countries, or they have different passports. Can they use the E2 visa?
Yeah, E2, I think, one thing about the E2 visa, so an E2 visa is an investor visa for entrepreneurs who are starting businesses in the U.S. It's a non-immigrant visa, and it allows one who maybe will invest around $100,000, even less in some circumstances, to acquire, like I said, non-immigrant status in the U.S. Their kids can come to the U.S., they can work, they can live, and their spouse can also have an EAD card. So those are the advantages of the E2. And, one thing I think is important is for that entrepreneur who wants to come to the U.S. on an E2 visa, and this is a treaty investor visa, so it is only available for specific countries, including Canada, Australia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and, some of the Middle Eastern countries as well as European countries. You may possibly qualify for a national interest waiver. A national interest waiver is another self-petition option for folks who, may have work in some area of national importance. So that area of national importance can be entrepreneurship and business and job creation. So if you are able to kind of establish a good business in the U.S. and show that you've created jobs, then it's possible that we can look at your permanent residency from a national interest waiver perspective. Just something to think about for those of you who may have been dissuaded from pursuing an E2 because of the, lack of green card option. It may actually open up some option there as well. So.
Exactly, yeah. The national interest waiver is very interesting because a lot of people also need that for the I-140 to extend their H-1B, because with all the movement, people trying to file an EB-3, trying to move to another company because you have layoffs, national interest waiver becomes very interesting because it stays with you, number one, and we don't need an employer to file that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are in conversation with Attorney Sharif, and we are almost done with the show now, Sharif. I think we have 1 minute to go. So, I wanted to thank you all for listening, and again, you can call us 510-742-5887, and also to let people know anything we told you today is our opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. Sharif, one last words before we go. One last few words.
Sure. We didn't have enough time to go into it, but there will be a proposed immigration bill that comes forward. I think the focus of the immigration bill will be to provide some kind of legal status to the many millions of undocumented individuals in the U.S. We don't know how it's going to impact employment-based immigration. I predict that they will increase the number of visas available, but will not necessarily or completely do away with the country quota situation. So that still may be there. We'll have to wait and see. But we can, look forward to additional visa availability and some other corrections and, definitely relief for, people who, are undocumented, to kind of give them a pathway towards some sort of documentation. So we'll see what happens, but, expect to hear a lot about a proposed immigration bill very, very soon.
Thank you so much for sharing such great insight. And Attorney Sharif, with that, we are at the end of our show here today. And thank you once again for being here. I will talk to both of you next week.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Remember, you can now call the office number 510-742-5887 or log on to the website puralilaw.com. Stay tuned to Radio Zindagi. This is Ira signing off for now. Jiye jao.